Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. We appear to have reached a new stage in Russia's unprovoked war on Ukraine. Russia's plan for a short blitzkrieg to take the capital has clearly failed. Both sides are now digging in for a longer stalemate. Now, that may seem like good news to everyone rooting for Ukraine to successfully repel this indefensible act of marauding aggression. But of course, stalemates can produce a shocking amount of misery and atrocity. And we have already seen so much human suffering in Ukraine, leading to the fastest growing refugee crisis since World War II. In just 3 weeks, nearly 3.5 million people have fled Ukraine. That is nearly 8% of the country's population. And the place that has suffered the most acute anguish of this war is the city of Mariupol. It's just 40 miles away from the Russian border, and it's a place where the majority of people, the overwhelming majority, are Russian speakers. In fact, less than 1% of the people in this city of about 400,000 speak Ukrainian at home. The citizens of Mariupol are the people who Russian President Vladimir Putin claims to be protecting in his propaganda. He and Russian state media have justified the invasion by claiming that Ukraine is carrying out a, quote, genocide against Russian speakers in the eastern part of the country, like the people that live in Mariupol. And yet it is there where we have seen Putin's barbarous plans play out. Listen to NBC News correspondent Gabe Gutierrez's report.
It is a massacre of historic proportions, witnesses say. The bloody siege on Mariupol is putting Russia's brutal tactics on full display, choking off supplies to civilians, and leaving Olga, who asked us not to use her last name, choking back tears. She barely escaped Mariupol, dodging shelling and landmines. We were like blind cats, she says. We just took a gamble and left.
Now, we know about the atrocities that have been happening inside Mariupol because of two incredible journalists from the Associated Press, a video journalist by the name of Mstislav Chernov and a photographer named Yevgeny Maloletka. They both were the eyes and ears of the entire world in that besieged city, the only two international reporters to remain after the Russian bombardment cut off electricity, water, food supplies, and cell phone, radio, and television towers. And they tell their harrowing story in this incredible piece published today. Chernov writes about how the deaths came fast. We watched as a doctor tried to save a little girl hit by shrapnel. She died. A second child died. Then a third. The mother in this photo lost her 18-month-old son. Quote, ambulances stopped picking up the wounded because people couldn't call them without a signal, and they couldn't navigate the bombed-out streets. He describes the devastation all over the city. Shelling hit the hospital and the houses around. It shattered the windows of our van, blew a hole into its side, and punctured a tire. Sometimes you'd run out to film a burning house and then run back amidst the explosions. Then on March 9th, the AP journalists in Mariupol bore witness to what had become indelible images of the war, the shelling of a maternity hospital. Quote, we watched smoke rise from the hospital. When we arrived, emergency workers were still pulling bloodied pregnant women from the ruins. The pregnant woman in this photo, named Mariana, was injured and evacuated herself from the building. Now, the Russian government recognized the power of these images that, of course, appeared all over the world and immediately began a truly despicable disinformation campaign, calling the photos fake, claiming the pregnant woman was an actress or that two different pregnant women were the same ones, and other useful idiots, and perhaps not idiots, just people who like to collect a paycheck. They repeated that nonsense. It was all nonsense. 2 days later, the AP journalists returned to the hospital to prove their reporting was not fake. Think of this. They have captured this image in the midst of war, and they now have a government saying that they're crisis actors. And so they go back to the hospital. There they found Mariana and the other woman who survived at a hospital on the front line, some with babies, another in labor. Mariana had given birth to a daughter, Veronica, but they also learned that one woman had lost her baby and then her own life. Now, they were still reporting from the hospital. This is in Mariupol, besieged city, right? When the Russian forces surrounded the building, the hospital itself, quote, I watched as tank after tank rolled up alongside the hospital compound, each marked with the letter Z that had become the Russian emblem for the war. I want to play you some of the utterly harrowing video they captured showing what the Russian forces were doing.
А второй что стоит за ним?
Now, video journalist Mstislav Chernov describes the terrifying situation that ensued after the Russians get out right by the hospital. Gunmen began stalking the corridors of the hospital. Surgeons gave us white scrubs to wear as camouflage. Suddenly, at dawn, a dozen soldiers burst in. Where are the journalists? And I looked at their armbands, blue for Ukraine, and tried to calculate the odds they were Russians in disguise. I stepped forward to identify myself. We're here to get you out, they said. The Ukrainian officer explained, quote, if they catch you, they will get you on camera and they will make you say that everything you filmed is a lie. All your efforts and everything you have done in Mariupol will be in vain. The two journalists were able to escape with a family and a humanitarian convoy. As Chernov says, quote, we were the last journalists in Mariupol. Now there are none. No journalists to cover the continuing atrocities in that city, which is still besieged, where a theater sheltering hundreds of women, children, and elderly was bombed just last week. And yesterday, an art school was attacked where Ukrainian officials say 400 people had taken refuge. Today, Mariupol continues to hold out, rejecting a Russian offer of safe passage out of the city in return for their surrender. That comes amid reports of thousands and thousands of residents forcibly taken across the nearby Russian border, according to advisor to Mariupol's mayor. The people of this city, of this Russian-speaking city, are essentially being slaughtered and punished for their failure to capitulate. The last estimate from officials in Mariupol put civilian casualties over 2,000, but given all we've seen from the two AP journalists' brave work, it certainly seems that total will be horrendously higher than that. And as we gird for the second phase of this war, the lessons of Mariupol are chilling.